So Dash and Briar were definitely a foregone conclusion, but Zen was a maybe he will, maybe he won't, but he did indeed cross, which means that going into next week, 3 less heroes and a whole different meta. So let's look at week 2 and talk week 3 coming ahead. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, and thanks for tuning in, doing our Week 2 recap of Skirmish Season 9, looking at the Blitz Living Legend picture. So, out of the gate, right? No secret to many people at this point, Dash, Briar, and Zen have all LL'd. So, lots of several interesting things on this that I want to do on the recap, and then of course we will go through and look at what's coming this upcoming week, which will be the final week of the season. So this week, so if you recall last week, I had kind of presented the picture that there were points missing off of the table. There was I think it was 160 points that weren't accounted for on the week breakdown. So just a quick reminder, week 1, I expected there to be 905 points on 181 events. Week 2 was just slightly less at 175 events for 875 points. So we had only seen 745 points logged last week as per when they did their update, right? There were a couple midweek events, but by and large, those points are missing. Well, now if we throw up, well, it's already been up, but if we look at week 2, you see week 2 has 975 points that have been logged. And I think it's possible some of those were from battle hardens around, but I believe the vast majority of those are from basically missing points. So I think maybe the missing points either came in late or there were more midweek events than we expected. But that's what's interesting about week 2 being at 975 points so far, is that the week's not over, right? So, Zen, for example, crossed at 505 points. And he very likely will, because the ban does not go in effect till Friday. So even though it's been announced as officially now that he's gone, or will be gone, I guess that's the key. It's been announced now that he will be gone on Friday. There's still potential points that him and the other heroes, to be fair, could get before the end of the week. Okay. Now, in terms of the grand picture, it doesn't change a whole lot because Zen has already crossed the threshold. So looking again at their breakdown, so credit to LSS for this image, Zen did better week 2 overall than he did week 1. But let's just cut to the chase. I'll go ahead and throw up the spreadsheet at this point and we'll kind of talk through it. If you recall, when we went into the beginning of the season, I had said that in order to cross over, Zen needed 20.7, right? So just shy of 21% of the points available this season. As of now, he's claimed 27.3% of the available points. Now, obviously, that will decrease next week because he won't be able to get them next week while his points will be being added. So he's already crossed the 20.3. He's got that guaranteed because he's got it locked in, right? And we have Dash and Briar both at 5.5%, which of course will decrease. They'll be probably a little over 3 because they each crossed with, so Dash is, both of them are roughly 5 wins, 4.5 wins over. So they'll end up being like 3.6% or something like that. Okay. Either way, those 3 heroes are gone. So let's talk. Well, let's look at what has been doing well also, because that kind of sets the stage for the next. So Victor picked up 170 points. He was hero number 2. And then we had Rhinar at 85 points, Blaze at 60 additional points. Okay. And we also had Kayo in that mix. That's right, armed Kayo coming in just above Blaze. Okay, so Blaze currently sitting at 135, well below. So now let's go and look at the current points and what our folks need to get next week in order to cross over. So Rhinar currently is at 468 points. Given the fact that the other 3 heroes are gone, Rhinar seems to be in a pretty decent spot. I would also say I think Victor's in a really good spot, earning 170 points last week. We'll see how things shift up perhaps in the meta. If the Warriors do pop up or folks with reacts pop up, they tend to do pretty well into Victor because he doesn't play a lot of reacts. Maybe he has to actually change his game plan a little bit on that in terms of sideboarding. Doesn't have a ton of flexibility. So we'll see if he goes up or down or holds steady. I would have to say, really, if we look at this, Rhinar needing Rhinar's like right there. He needs 7 wins. That seems pretty doable. Just to remind everyone and remind myself, actually, there are 93 events next week. So it's not as many as we've seen, but getting 7 wins out of the 93, right? That seems pretty doable. Victor can't really, well, I mean, he could do it. He only needs 23. It's only 100 wins, right? That's the thing to keep in mind. He only needs 23 more wins to go. It's doable as well, right? Being the second place here with everyone going. But what I'm really curious about next week is what Kayo's going to do, is what Blaze is going to do. And I do think that with Zen being not present, and to a lesser extent Dash being not present, I do question if ASC actually drops. And then I do think there's a wild card in there. Well, I guess there's 2 wild cards. Does Emperor come back in? Probably not with Blaze popping up, but it could happen. Could grab some more points. And when we say pop up, it's not like he's going to like shoot to the top or something, right? In terms of his piece of the LSS pie, as it may be. But that could help him a little bit with less Briars out there. But without Zen, does ASC, I think, because the Assassins are trying to prey on the straight aggro decks with the disruption. So I don't think ASC makes much progress. Now, the interesting one in the room here is Levia. So Levia has been doing work, at least in our area. Shout out to Cameron Summers, who took down one this last weekend as well. So we've had 2 Levias win Blitz skirmishes in our region, the Pacific Northwest US. Levia has pulled down another 20 points. Now, she needs 75 wins, so seems pretty safe. But can Levia pop up against, if you assume Victor is the favorite going in next week, just based on essentially going down the list. I guess going down the list would technically have Rhinar be the favorite, but I mean of that piece of the pie in terms of who's been winning. Victor would be the current favorite, I would think. Can she do that? I don't know how well Levia does into him when he gets the additional card draw. I think that's definitely a thing. So we will see how that goes. And then I know I've been shouting it out, has not been doing super well because Advent of Thrones is still on a fat goose egg. But we have seen Prism pick up some. She got just 2 wins, which is not great in that wide field. But, if Guardian pops up traditionally, like Illuminaris Auras has done pretty well into Guardian. We'll see in this case because he gets the extra draw on that, but I guess you can't do a whole bunch of draw I guess you can't do a whole bunch if there's just a bunch of auras on the table and you swing face and take a whole bunch of merciful retributions or whatever. So that's very interesting to me to see how that goes. That'll be very interesting to play out, actually, because if Victor is the favorite, Prism could actually be a pretty good pop next week. But in terms of, let's go back to the LL projection, right? If you look at the wins left, because I have this ordered from top down, Rhinar was 7, Dorinthea at 19, based on her performance. I don't think that's a thing, right? She's only gotten 2 wins each week. Victor could make it. Bravo, again, not with the wins. You go to Blaze. Blaze would need 73 wins. Seems unlikely. Seems like Blaze is going to be here another season. And then you keep going down to that. Kayo seems unlikely at 76 wins. So I think maybe they will, so I think Rhinar's a probably at this point. I think Rhinar's a probably. I think Victor's a potentially. And then we'll have to see where the rest of the chips fall. This is going to be very interesting. Again, remember, it's less points, less tournaments available, less events than we've seen in the past. So be very interesting to see where it goes. And what the end percentages look like. So anyway, brand new meta headed into the last week. Should be fun. Let me know what you're thinking, and go Commando.